Page number 78. Decision making. So we'll start the class. First of all, the definition of decision making. At the start also, at the end also, I will say the same thing. The basic meaning of decision making, if you want to know, it's as simple as this. You have choices. You should have choices more than two, okay, more than one at least, okay. You are having choices or alternatives. You have to choose the best possible alternative for your cost benefit analysis, or to increase the profit, or whatever be the goal be. Okay, you are given few choices, more than one choice, of course. Okay, you have to choose the best possible choice or best possible alternative. Okay, that is decision making in a nutshell. Okay, so decision can be defined as the process of choosing among alternatives, such as affiliating with more doctors so as to receive more patient referrals, etc. Okay, just an example. So this definition is given in page number 78, the first paragraph. Okay, so it's as simple as that. I have marked choosing among alternatives in bold so that you can understand that's the nutshell meaning of decision making. Okay. Next, types of decision. In this particular book, if you refer other sources, there may be much more variety of decisions, but for examination purpose, please try to follow what is given in the textbook. Okay, nothing out of syllabus will be asked. Okay, so types of decision. There are mainly two types: programmed decision making and non-programmed decision making. Is my slide changing? Can you see slide number 3? Types of decision making. Is the slide visible now? Is it visible? Types of decision. Okay, I guess there is some network issues or something like that. Uh, okay, so types of decision. I guess you have got the definition of decision making that is there in the first paragraph of page number 78 in DC Joshi textbook. Okay, the benefit of having alternatives and choosing the best possible alternative. Okay, that's a definition of decision making. Next is the types of decisions. Okay, so basically there are two in this book. It is given two types of decision: program decision making and routine basis. No, program decision making and non-program decision making. So what is programmed decision making? For example, the things you have to decide on a routine basis. For example, if you're in a ward, okay, if you're in a ward and you're a ward in charge or a doctor in charge. So the one good example of routine based decision making is inventory. Weekly you have to update your inventory. Okay, that's the decision making. You have to make such decisions on inventory. If you are overstocked with some pharmaceuticals, you don't have to order it for the next week. If you're understocked in a particular drugs, you have to obviously stock them up for the next inventory. Okay, these are the basic routine decision making which you take on a routine basis. Okay, the next is non-program decision making. For example, whatever decisions we had to take when the pandemic happened, okay, that was last year, when the pandemic took place, whatever decisions you took, that's an example of non-programmed decision making, non-routine. It will not take like, for example, you have to, if you're a hospital administrator, you want to convert an entire ward into a COVID isolation ward. Okay, that's an example of non-programmed decision making. It's not on routine basis, it is non-routine decision making. So these are the few examples about programmed and non-programmed decision making. Okay, next, steps in problem solving and decision making. That is again in page, it starts in page number 78. The first step is identify and diagnose a problem. If you want to solve something, you should identify it as a problem or an issue in the first place. If you don't identify issues, you can't create solutions for that. Okay, but that's a common sense we all have. Okay, identify and diagnose a problem. So just to understand these steps, I will give you an example of, let's say, a ward in a hospital is having frequent complaint about patients not being satisfied with nursing professionals. So patients have to wait for a long time to get their nursing services done. Okay, this is the frequent complaint coming from a particular ward in a hospital. So you have identified this trend, and when you looked into a situation, you found out that your hospital is understaffed when it comes to nurses. Okay, you have very less amount of nurses as compared to how much you should ideally have. Okay, so this is one example. Understaffed nurses, okay, or even the number of nurses which you already have, they are overworked. Okay, both can be the case. In such cases, you are finding increased amount of complaints from patient regarding the nursing services. So now you have identified the problem, you understood what's wrong, why these complaints are coming and from which department it is coming, and why these complaints are coming, what's wrong. Okay, now you have identified the problem. The next step, develop an alternative. So as an administrator or as a hospital manager, what alternatives do you have? If you have enough budget at your disposal, you can obviously go and hire more employees. Okay, that's one option. Next option is, if you do not have a budget to spend on nursing employees, what else you can do? The another best alternatives, maybe go to a nearby nursing college and ask them if they want to train their nursing students in your hospital. That is another this alternative. What is the third alternative which you can take? Take staffs from overstaffed wards and shift them to the understaffed wards. Okay, that's the third alternative. So these are the alternatives. So developing alternatives is as much of idea generation takes place. You should not limit the alternatives and the solutions to this one single problem should go on. Okay, there is not limit to the ideas generated and a solution which can come up for a single problem. So here you have developed alternatives and number of alternatives. There is no limit to that. These solutions or these alternatives can be right and wrong, which we will decide later. That's the third step. Evaluate the alternatives. So what were the alternatives which I gave you? Like hiring new staff if you have enough budget. If you don't have enough budget, request a nursing college to send their students for training. Okay, so your present nurses can delegate some of that burden to the nursing students. Okay, third alternative is to take your own staff from the overstaffed areas to the understaffed areas. Okay, so while evaluating these alternatives, you have to see which will give you the best cost benefit effectiveness. Okay, you don't want to put in too much of financial resources into this problem, but you want to get the best benefit out of it. So that's the cost benefit effectiveness analysis. Okay, so if at all, as I said earlier, if you have enough sufficient profit at your disposal to spend on new employees, the best alternative is to go and hire new nurses for your hospital. If not, then what you can do? Either you have to opt for nursing students or you have to transfer your own staff to the new ward. Okay, so for example, in this case, let's say you went for the second alternative, that was you didn't had enough money, you didn't want to spend enough money on new stuff. You went along with the plan for taking nursing students from nursing colleges and training them under your hospital, so they can help your present nursing understaffed nurses. Okay, so that's the alternative which you choose. That is the fourth step, choosing the best alternative given your current situation. In your current situation, what's the best thing you can do for to nip this problem? That's the best alternative. So choosing, making one selection from the n number of alternatives which you already had. Next is implement the decision. A very important statement is given in your page number 79 under the implement decision section. Okay, unless the decision is implemented, it is not a decision. So whatever alternative you have thought, or whatever alternative you have selected, as long as it is in your thought process only, it is not a decision. You have to make that thought process into action. Okay, so a decision is a decision only when you act upon it. Okay, so that is implementing the decision. You went to a nursing college, or you already had request from various nursing college in your locality. So you selected one best nursing college and you gave them permission that they can train their nursing students under your hospital. Okay, so that is implementing the decision. You went forward with one alternative. Then the last step is evaluate and control. Whatever decision you have took, you have to see the feedback mechanism. Did that decision backfire, or did that decision led to a much beneficial state as the previous state, how your ward was? Okay, in this evaluate and control, you can either find out after getting the nursing students within 1 month, did the patient satisfaction increase or did the patient satisfaction decrease. If it decreased, again the decision making process will start from step 1, that is identifying and diagnosing the problem. From there itself, again this cycle will start. If at all taking this decision, after taking in nursing students, the patient satisfaction increased, then your decision was the right decision, and you didn't also had to spend much for this decision. It was also cost effective. So these are the steps in problem solving or decision making. Well, it's very easy, you just read through it. Okay, I hope you have understood with the example. I have explained each of the steps. Okay, some other examples are also given about OPD, crowd management, and everything. It's given in your textbook. You can also refer that for your understanding. Next is factors influencing decision making. Okay, so these are the factors. It will depend from individual to individual, because in the generating of alternatives, you saw n number of alternative can come from anyone. Okay, so these anyone and everyone are different personalities. So there was many factors which influenced them to give such and such ideas, and the same factors will influence the head or the manager to choose the best decision possible. Okay, so the first factor is intuition. Intuition means what is your gut feeling? Okay, while choosing making a decision, you know that if hiring nursing students, taking in nursing students, maybe you know with your past experience, or you have seen the same trend in another hospital. Okay, you know it will not work out. Okay, or you have the basic gut feeling it will not work out. So that is an intuition. Personality trait, some people are autocratic and some people are people pleaser. These are the two extremes. Okay, autocratic personality, what they will do, it's like their way or the highway. They will not indulge everyone in their decision making process. They will take a decision and you have to follow that. That is an autocratic decision making. Then there is people pleasers. Okay, they want everyone to be happy with their decisions. Okay, these are the different personality traits that will come into play. Okay, both these extremes are hazardous to the decision making process. Okay, you have to find some way in between. Then there is cognitive intelligence, your thinking intelligence, what your analysis can say, how research oriented are you. If you come across a problem, do you try to solve that using research skills, or do you go and find other examples, or do you take others help to solve the problem? Okay, that is cognitive intelligence. Emotional intelligence, you have self awareness, self management, social awareness, relationship management. You have to satisfy the emotional needs of your staff also, because they are understaffed. You are aware of your management, that is self management. Okay, self awareness means you have to take the decision to hire new employees, or to take nurses, or you have to just shift nurses from here to there. Okay, you have to be aware of the situation. Social awareness means if you um, don't solve this problem, okay, what will happen? The goodwill of your hospital will come down. Okay, so that's the social awareness which will lead to emotional intelligence. And relationship management, the conflicts that will take place between the understaffed nurses, because if the nurses are overstaffed, there conflict will arise among them. Okay, so that's a human nature. Okay, so emotional intelligence will come from all these different factors. Okay, then the quality of information. How much information do you have at your disposal when you came to know that patients are not satisfied? Is it like, what is the quality of the information? Like, how did you come to a conclusion that it is because of the nursing services that your patients are not satisfied? Or is there any other factors like hygiene or safety hazards or anything other than that? Did you see all the corners while deciding that nurses were the reason for decreased patient satisfaction? Okay, so quality of information means how much information, with how much information you already had, and did you use 100% of that information, or you just used 50% of that information to start your decision making process? Then political consideration, legalities and the laws and reforms that comes into play, if at all you're going into a hiring area. Then degree of certainty, again intuition and degree of certainty comes in, like it's interchangeable. Then crisis and conflict, again in relationship management we saw crisis and conflict. Values, attitudes, practices, every hospital has their own values, attitude, and their individual practices which they will follow as a hospital. Okay, for example, if you are a charitable hospital or if you're a private hospital, you all know if it is a charitable hospital, the prices are much less as compared to private hospital. There is a reason behind that. Am I audible now? Because I guess there are some network issues going on. Okay, yeah, I'm audible. So, okay. Yeah. Then the habit of procrastination. Like, there is a problem is existing, but you still don't want to solve it. You are keeping it for later and later and later. Okay, so that's the habit of procrastination. So these are the factors that will influence the decision making. Okay, this exact diagram is given in page number 80. Those who have the textbook, in page number 80, the exact diagram is given. Next, techniques of decision making. Qualitative techniques, risk analysis, decision tree approach, and preference theory. So in risk analysis, from the name itself, you can find out the benefit which you have seen coming, the benefit which is going to come in future, okay, with a particular decision. Is that decision coming with a certain amount of risk? If it's a huge risk, then the benefit should be worth it. If the benefit is very small in number, if it comes to profit and everything, if the benefit is very small in number, you need not go for big risk in taking a decision. Okay, that's the basic common sense which we use in our day-to-day life. Okay, so that is risk analysis. Whatever decision you are taking, whatever alternatives you are choosing, just check the risk associated with choosing that particular alternative. So that is risk analysis. Okay, risk analysis are different chapters in all when you go in detail, but just for your course, just understand the meaning of risk analysis, what is given in the textbook, that is enough. Decision tree approach. It means each decision which you take, okay, it has n number of consequences. Okay, whatever decision you take, your one decision may have 100 consequences. So when you chart those 100 consequences and your one decision in a figurative form, you find one decision branching out to different consequences, best case scenario and worst case scenario. Okay, so that is the decision tree approach. Next is preference theory. In preference theory, what happens is you don't want a lot of risk associated with your alternative. Okay, what is nearby, what is the easiest, okay, what is the easiest and it will give the best result. That is a preference theory. Okay, you may have 10 alternatives, but choosing the easiest way out to get the best benefit, that is called preference theory. Next is qualitative techniques. Economic forecasting. As a hospital manager, whatever decisions you take, okay, in a hospital, it should be based on the economic forecasting of the country which you are living in. Okay, so if the economy is down, okay, you can't expect your customers, your internal customers and your external customers to go for an out of pocket expenses for healthcare. So what you have to do is, you don't want to do exaggerated renovation when the economy is down. You have to make sure that you provide the basic and necessary health services without much of additional expenses to your customers. Okay, so that is how economy plays a part in healthcare system. Next is sales forecasting. Like it depends upon, for there is a tertiary hospital. The tertiary hospital will know that most of their sales come in from referral systems. Okay, the primary and the secondary care hospitals will refer their patients to tertiary care hospitals. Okay, and even if you are not a tertiary care hospital, you are a standalone private hospital, but there will be one particular department which is performing higher as compared to other departments. Okay, so how did you get that information? That was through the past sales which took place. Okay, in that particular, for example, your hospital is known for its CT and MRI, because waiting time is much less. Okay, and also the machines which you have installed in your hospital, the CT and MRI machine, which is very much upgraded, and technology wise it is very savvy machines which you have upgraded. Okay, so nearby hospitals will also send their patients as referrals to you, and patients themselves may prefer to do their CT MRI from your hospital, because waiting time may be very less and the facility is quite good. Okay, quite good, worth spending money on. Okay, so that is sales forecasting. So what happens is, your a majority of your income is going to come from this particular department. Accordingly, you will take your business management decision, keeping in mind new renovations to be taken, or the profits what you have generated to be put back into that particular department, because that is going to give you the maximum number of returns. Okay, that is sales forecasting. Technological forecast, need not to say, the healthcare technology is changing day by day. Okay, what is coming new? If you have a CT or MRI machine which is 10 years old, okay, you have to look for new upgradation. Otherwise, it will go into absolute. Okay, if it is absolute, then you can't generate any income through that. It's a dead end money. Okay, so technological forecast will help the administrators to make a decision when and what they should upgrade, so that they don't face obsoleteness in the future. The Gantt chart. Gantt chart is nothing but it's series of events that should take place over a period of time. It is represented in a particular format that is shown in the coming slides. Okay, I will show you the example of Gantt chart. Okay, a series of within July you have to complete a project. Okay, you can't wait till June. You have to start from January. So from January, what you have to do, in February, what you have to do. Okay, I'm just giving an example, month-wise breakdown of events that will lead to the final event, that is represented in an x-axis, y-axis form. That is called Gantt chart. I will show the image later. Then is milestone chart. similar to Gantt chart, but milestone chart will show you all the small nitty-gritties that you should accomplish so that a big task is finished, and then you can move to the next chart. So again, that milestone chart I will show you. Program, evaluation, and review technique. Pert chart. Pert chart, how it is different from Gantt chart. In Gantt chart, not necessarily all the steps is related to each other, but program and evaluation Pert chart will show how the final event, how it is related to each of the different series of events. Again, you will see that differentiation in the charts I'm going to show now. So this is a Pert chart. This is the starting phase and this is the end phase. Okay, don't pay attention to the codes and all. This is just an example from a software code Pert chart. Okay, so this is the starting point and this is the end point. But when you see the stress test, okay, let's take example of this stress test, how this particular event is related to the refracted code event and the text performance event. If you plot this chart in a Gantt chart, you can't find these relations, how the final event is related to these three events, which should take place at the same time. These three events should take place at the same time. It can't follow each other. Okay, so this is one example of Pert chart, how the final event or events in between, how it is related to each other, only Pert chart can show you. But when it comes to Gantt chart, you can see after planning, you have to do research, design, implementation, and follow up. Okay, and particular time slots are given for each of these steps. Particular time slot is given. For example, within January 19 and within February 19, planning has to be completed. Maximum you can go for March 19. After that, research has to be done, and research should begin along with February 19. Okay, so just looking at this chart itself, you can understand how each of these major task, big events, how they are scattered around from January to July, and when they should be finished. You can't drag planning beyond March. Okay, so that is understood. You can't drag the design beyond April, and you can't start design before February. Okay, that is understood by the Gantt chart. So, but in Gantt chart, they will not show how follow up is related to planning. You know, planning will be the first step, but how it is directly related to follow up, that is not shown in the Gantt chart. When it comes to milestone chart, it's another version of Gantt chart, but where small events, like you can see this branching outs. Okay, these are the milestones, like sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3. These are the branches. Okay, these are the milestones. These are the initiate, plan, execute, close. Okay, it's a planning cycle. This is the major events, which is in color blocks: orange, green, dark green, and pink. Okay, these major color blocks are big events, but these big events will have sub small events. So the milestone chart will show the sub small events, which is not available again in Gantt chart. So this is the difference between Pert, Gantt, and milestone chart. Okay. Ishikawa is different. Ishikawa is cause and effect diagram. It's completely different. That we will discuss in our Six Sigma class. Okay, so even the Gantt chart, Pert chart, it is there in a Six Sigma course also, but we will discuss that in detail there. Here, for the hospital administration students, don't get worried about this chart. Just for your information, I have kept it here. Okay, what is small paragraphs are only given in page from page number 80 to 81 about Gantt, Pert, and milestone chart. You just have to read that, but just for your understanding and how it is visualized when it comes into reality, I have put these images. Okay, so I hope that is clear. What's the difference between all these charts? I hope it is clear. Pert chart will show you the relationship between each events. Gantt chart will only show what events has to come next and by what time it has to be completed. Milestone chart will show even the small events that has to be completed so that a big event can, a big part of your entire plan can complete. Okay, that's the main difference between these three charts. Okay, So don't mix this with Ishikawa or cause and effect diagram or the fishbone diagram. Those don't mix up with that. It kind of looks like that, but but you can understand the purpose of Ishikawa is completely different, and the purpose of milestone chart, Pert chart is different. Ishikawa, you are finding what caused something, some error, something went wrong. Okay, just imagine something went wrong. What were the different causes that brought you to this area of defect? That is Ishikawa. But this Pert chart, Gantt chart, milestone chart, these are for the project managers. This will help you plan out. Okay, with Ishikawa, you found out the problem. You found out the problem, what is wrong. Now to solve that problem, what you have to do, that idea, Gantt chart, Pert chart, and milestone chart will give you. So don't confuse Ishikawa with these charts. Okay, it may look similar, but the purpose is completely different. Don't mix up that. Okay. So if at all there was network issues, please make sure you have clicked the photos, and I will share you my mobile number at the end of the chart. Okay, I will share you my mobile number. So the students with whom I didn't contact, or new admissions, and the previous old students who have passed their exams but still they are attending the classes, they might not have my number. I will share my number in the chat box. Please note it down. And if you have took the screenshot of these slides and you require re-explanation, okay, because of network issues, I guess some people may have missed the explanation. So I will again play the slides, or you can inform me in the chat box what slide number you want to be shared on the screen. I will explain it personally via WhatsApp. Okay, so please try to reach me out. I will send you my mobile number. Please note down my mobile number, and the students whom I have not yet contacted, or the old students, if you have any doubt, please contact me. You can take the screenshot of this. Please let me know what slides I have to play in the chat box now. Take the screenshot of that and we can discuss this personally. Should I repeat any slides? Take the screenshot of that slide and we can discuss it over our communication.